I request all the participants to kindly stay on mute.
Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir. Can you say a
Okay,
couple of words, sir, so that we can check the audio?
Okay. I hope I didn't disturb your weekend. Maybe it's a Saturday evening, so everyone must have had some plans. Like even though it's a lockdown day, I hope I didn't disturb like your weekend plans actually. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
गंदा ஆமா இருக்காங்க இருக்காங்க தோட்டத்துல இருக்கு.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session hosted by the Department of Biotechnology from St. Joseph's College of Engineering. Before we begin, I have a few instructions for the participants to ensure the smooth sailing of the event. Please do not unmute your microphones throughout the session and do not introduce yourselves in the chat box. Post any questions you have in the chat box at the end and they will be answered. If you face any technical difficulties at any point, relay them in the chat box as well, and we will look into it. Submission of the feedback form is necessary to receive the e-certificate towards the end of the session. Lastly, I request you all to use your earphones for better quality. We will now play a video about our college and our department. I now call upon the organizer, Ms. G. Kalavati, to deliver the welcome speech.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Department of Biotechnology, St. Joseph's College of Engineering, I take immense pleasure to welcome you all for today's webinar on Gateway for Higher Studies in Biotechnology. I'm sure that this webinar will definitely give you some insights into the approaches for higher studies both in India and abroad. Now I request our beloved head of the department, Dr. G. Shikma sir, to give inaugural address.
Good evening, everybody. It's a really happy moment for me to inaugurate the, I should say, second session of alumni mentoring program towards higher studies. Generally, people used to say a good tree means that bears a good fruit and beneficial to all. True nourishment of a tree comes from its roots. An alumni is also the same. You people, alumni, are deeply rooted in biotechnology fertile soil of St. Joseph College of Engineering. An alumnus is an asset to an institution. In fact, they should come back and then share their experience, expertise, volunteering, etc. they can do. Of course, the real success of a college is measured by the success of an alumni. Every biotech students who graduated from biotechnology department at St. Joseph definitely would have got fulfilled their dream realized. And connecting one's alma mater is also a great feeling to every alumni. Sharing their own experiences, stories, becoming a mentor and guides to them, etc. It's a pleasurable moment. Unlike other engineering discipline, biotechnology is purely a higher studies oriented field where every subject at the UG program becomes a specialized degree at PG level. No doubt, it gains a number of confusions among the current students towards their higher studies options available, pathway to go for it, etc. Because you are already there in the real field or real world, your opinion are going to be highly valuable to the students rather than they believing an agent for higher studies. And coming to today's program, we have our distinguished alumni and a guest speaker also. Dr. Vamsi, I'm very happy to say he's a doctor, not now, he's a student of St. Joseph Biotechnology now. Okay, Dr. Vamsi is a biomedical researcher from University of Cork, Ireland. And Mr. Jodhivanan is pursuing his doctorate degree at Riken, Japan. And they were already highly inquest towards doing some experiment and apart from regular education studies, etc. during their college days. This resulted during those days itself, they could able to get All India INAE Best Project Award for their invention in DNA-based fountain pen ink to avoid the document forgery, etc. And they have gone for patenting that also. Although you are not being our family, that means a physical family of St. Joseph, you are a valued part of the biotech family all the time. And another guest speaker is Mr. Balaji Sagadevan, and he is from Boston, and he is having rich 10 years of world-leading pharmaceutical industrial experience. He is also there for us to share his views. And towards higher studies and other opportunities for biotechnology, they are going to enlighten us. And this moment, I like to congratulate the organizers, Dr. V. Renuka and Madam Kalavati, and even student supporters, that is third year students who are volunteering and making this event success. So let us listen to them and perfectly align ourselves towards facing the real world. All the very best for the speakers and my dear students. Thank you.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, sir. Now I'd like on to the session. Now I'd like to welcome our first speaker for the day, Mr. Jyothivanan Elumalai. Mr. Elumalai has completed his bachelor's degree in biotechnology from our very own St. Joseph's College of Engineering and went on further to complete his master's in industrial biotechnology at the National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, and has now enrolled for his research doctorate in developmental epigenetics at Kobe University in Japan and is pursuing his research at RIKEN, one of Japan's largest research organizations. Now, some of Mr. Elumalai's expertise lies in epigenetics, developmental biology, and biochemistry. He has 2 publications and has also won the Young Scientist Award from the Indian National Academy of Engineering for the Diagram Project, a DNA-based tool for advanced security. Mr. Elumalai aspires to be an independent researcher and has keen interest in guiding up-and-coming students who wish to pursue a career in research. Welcome, Mr. Jyothivanan Elumalai.
Thank you for your kind introduction, Rachin. So I will try to share my screen right now. Yeah, I hope everyone can see my screen. My voice is audible. Okay. So it is always a proud and happy moment to come back to the college where you have studied and give talk to a junior. I'm really happy and thankful to the organizers for inviting me today. So once I got this invitation, I was like curious and I was just thinking like what to present today. Of course, like once you finish your studies, there are like different aspects. Like you will be interested in going to a job, or like you want to become an entrepreneur, or you want to pursue higher studies and go further on with the research career. So the first 2 topics, I was like, maybe I don't have much experience in the first 2 topics. So I thought like I will go with the research career since it's my area of expertise actually. So today I will share some of my personal opinions and guidance to start your research career. So before going into the talk, I would like to briefly introduce myself. By now, most of you should have known that I'm a super senior. I had graduated from St. Joseph's College of Engineering in the year 2015. In the same year, I cleared my GATE examination in biotechnology and joined NITK for my master's degree. For my master's degree, I was funded by the Indian government. For my master's degree, I was funded by the Indian government through GATE scholarship. And once I finished my master's degree, I was lucky to obtain the MEC scholarship from the Japanese government, with which I'm currently pursuing my doctoral degree in RIKEN, Japan. So I hope like I'll finish my doctoral degree in the year 2022. But yeah, I'm not sure like what will happen in the future. Yeah. So most of you doesn't know about this institute RIKEN actually. So I'll just briefly like put 2 slides just to introduce the institute. So it is basically one of the top class research institute in Japan, also one among in all the countries, and it research focuses on basic science field like physics, chemistry, and life science. So it has many branches within Japan and all over the world actually. So the branch of RIKEN, where I do my research now, that is RIKEN BDR. BDR is a short form for Biosystems Dynamic Research. It mainly focuses on the developmental biology aspects of different organisms like human, mouse, Drosophila, monkey, sharks, sea lichens, and so on actually. So what there are around 30 to 50 labs in my research institute, and each lab they focus on a specific like part of the human. Like one lab will work on how the eye is formed from the fertilized egg till the fetus is developed, how the eye is formed, and some lab works on the brain, and some lab they work on the kidney formation, so and so on actually. Okay, this is my current recent picture of my current lab at Riken. So our lab focuses on epigenetic changes that happens during the early stages of embryogenesis. So basically, we all know that the DNA condenses inside the nucleus, and this condensation is our lab found that it's not a random event and it's cell type specific actually. So because of this, like this is assumed to be an epigenetic change, and but yeah, if you want more details, I can explain. Like you can email me and I can discuss with you later about it. So now let's go back again to the today's topic actually. Yeah. So in today's talk, actually I thought, as I said before, I thought like I will discuss about the research career. But even in research career, if I want to speak about, I think this presentation is not sufficient to speak about the whole research career. So in today's talk, I'll just briefly introduce how to enter a research career. Like before, like applying for a PhD, what things you need to focus on? Because like once you enter a PhD, like I believe PhD is initial step in a research career. So once you enter a PhD, there are like different other aspects. I won't be focusing on those things, but just before a PhD, what things you need to focus on? Like if you are interested in really research career, what things you need to focus on before PhD? So those kind of things I will explain in today's talk. So it's like I made the talk into 3 topics. The first is identifying your research interest, and second is how to approach the professors, like those application process and those things. And the third topic is how to find the scholarships and those details. So let me go to the first topic for today's talk. Yeah. So the first and foremost, I feel like this is the most important question in your research career. Like, what's my research interest? So before going into this topic, because many like there are different research fields in biotechnology, and if you want to really choose one, like someone might be really confused actually. So I basically to make it like easy for you, I like in my opinion, I divide the research fields into 2 groups actually. One is like applied science research, and the second one is the basic science research. Applied science research is nothing but like it deals with something like innovation, discovering something like technology development or drug discovery, those kind of things. But basic science research is something like understanding something. For example, if you give a food to an animal, like giving the food to animals is something like innovation. But how you give like yeah, I mean this is the worst example I guess. But maybe I hope you understand. Like understanding how things work, like the mechanism, those kind of things, is the basic science research. But I hope since like most of you are in your bachelor's degree right now, so I hope like it's okay to have a broad research interest right now, but try to narrow it down as early as possible. Because like this I feel this is the first and most important step, like when you want to start a research career. So when I said this, the next question is you want to know how will I able to identify my research interest? Right. Yeah. So there are like several ways to identify your research interest. So like I have listed here a few ways. Like the first is reading research and recent review articles. I will explain about this point in my next slide, like well detailed, but I will explain or I'll like just briefly list the other 2 topics actually. So now like maybe most of you are in lockdown right now. So now like it's not like possible to go to the institute to read like and know like something. Like you can also do some e-learning courses like some Coursera, like iBiology, like in YouTube. These are just some examples. You can just do that and you can find like what do I like what I'm like interested like more into, those kind of things you can understand. So the third topic is even though you read a lot, even though you understand a lot, like the theoretical knowledge is completely different from the practical knowledge. I hope you understand with this point. You agree with me in this point. So the third point is doing internships and mini projects actually. So when you do like internships and mini projects, you will really know like what kind of things I like to do actually. So this is just one example for the practical experience actually. So when you really want to succeed in a research field, and if you have high motivation, I think without the interest in that field, I think it's almost impossible to become successful in that field. So now let me go to the first point, reading research and recent review articles, and why that is more important actually. Yeah. So now, like most of you should have been aware of this cell cycle profile. So basically, in a cell cycle, there is a DNA duplication followed by the cell division. But if I ask you, when does the DNA replication happens in a cell cycle, most of you will say, like, of course, it happens in the S phase of the cell cycle. But if you ask me the same question, when does the DNA replication happens, I would say it happens in all the cell cycle phases. So this is just because like this kind of knowledge doesn't comes only from the textbook, because most of the textbook teaches only like the DNA replication happens in the S phase. But if you read the recent review articles and research articles like I've listed here, so you will understand like what is the current situation of the field actually. So most of yeah. So usually textbook knowledge are at least decade old information, and you can get a basic knowledge from it. But if you want the current information, research articles are the best option. Also, like when you read a research article, don't believe in everything you read actually. So do cross reference. Also use your own judgment. Because why I say this, when you enter a research field, you will be having multiple hypotheses for a particular research actually, and in the end you need to make one or you need to support one actually. So that is the importance of research articles. Also, like this brings me to the second topic of today's talk, like identifying a professor and the application process. Because when you read a research articles, like recent research articles, or when you read a recent review articles, you will be coming across like several names, like the corresponding author names. So when you are interested in such research field, you'll be knowing like, okay, this guy works in this field or she works in this field. I need to find his lab. I need to know what is going in his lab. So you'll be interested in those kind of things. So this will be enable you to know about the person who are working in that field. So in the next step, you can approach the professor. Then you can ask like for vacancy in his lab actually, like if there is any vacancy in his lab for joining his lab actually. But you cannot just directly ask him like, hello professor, like can I join your lab? That is not the correct way actually. Okay, so for doing that, you need to have two things actually. So once you able to identify your research interest first, then you need to write two things. One is the CV and the second one is the SOP actually. So CV is like I said before, like there are three things. One is the like internship projects and those things, and like practical experience. So those things like will make like you can highlight in your CV, like if you do such things, so which will make your like CV a strong one. And the second one is the SOP or personal statement. I hope like most of you must be aware of this, but I will just briefly go through this statement of purpose, like how to write a statement of purpose and what professor expects from a student in a statement of purpose. So when writing a statement of purpose, there are like several questions that needs to be addressed. For example, like if you address only these questions, it is well sufficient to make a professor like he can consider you as a potential candidate for his lab actually. So the first question is how you became interested in your specific research field. So in the previous talk, I mean not talk, in the previous the first point I told like to identify your research interest. So you should have undergone a specific path to identify your research interest. So that is the answer you need to describe it here actually. like how you identified your research interest. Like what made you think like this is my field, this is what I'm going to work on. So those kind of things you can explain it here. Like for example, like I was interested in genetic engineering and genomic instability. So my bachelor's project and my master's project, they are like both are like mostly in genetic engineering. Then I was like curious, like I was working on CRISPR and TALEN in my master's, and I was curious like to know about like genetics and epigenetics actually. So that is my reason why I'm working in a epigenetics lab right now. So that is the way I wrote this for this question actually. So the next question is why you want to join this lab actually. So for this question, you need to read again. You need to read some of his recent research articles in his lab actually, because only if you read some of his research articles in his lab, you will be able to know what kind of works is going on. And like once you know what kind of work is going on in his lab, you will be able to know like why you want to join his lab. Like you can tell him like this is the work of yours that I'm so much interested in, and this is why I want to join your lab, and I want to explore my research interest in your lab. Then the third question is why he or she should consider you as a potential candidate. So for this, again, we need to go back to the beginning. Like a research, like when you identify a research interest, of course, you are going to work something for that, like to identify a research interest. So those things you need to highlight here. Like I have this kind of experience, I have done these kind of things in this research field. So I think I want to explore more, and I feel like your lab is also working in this kind of field, and I felt like I can like learn more under your supervision. So those kind of things you can write in for this point. And last but not the least, like always a professor, when you write a SOP, he always looks for the motivation in you. So like you need to also tell him if you are going to join his lab and after finishing the course in his lab, what you are planning to do. Like just like a brief, like what's your future plan, those kind of things. So generally a statement of purpose is like 1 or 2 pages long, but make sure like you do not use the same SOP for different purposes. For example, many people like will write a generalized SOP and they will just copy paste, like changing the greetings. Like you can just change the name of the professor and you can write like the same SOP for everyone. But don't do that, because if you just answer this question, the SOP itself won't be the same for all the professors. So try to make like specific SOP for each professor. Yeah. Okay. So like, okay, now you identify your research interest, you approach the professor and the professor likes you, then he will be he will be replying you, of course, actually in the email. What he will say is, I'm really interested to take you in my lab actually, but we need to discuss something more. Like what about the funding actually? Because most professors, they are really interested in taking the students actually. But the one major problem in the lab is they don't have enough funding to support the students. Yeah. So this is the point he will tell. Like, we need to discuss about the funding. So there are like different ways to like search for scholarships to support yourself for your PhD. So I have listed like few of them. Like maybe there are also other ways, but I'll just go through these few of them. The first one is like you can directly go to the websites of the college or the university or the research institute which you are applying for, and there you can find the scholarship details for like where you can apply actually. Also, like most people, like they might not know that there are like different embassy websites in our country actually. For example, like Embassy of Japan in India, Embassy of Australia in India, Embassy of like US, like what's your country? Like you can take any country, like there is always an embassy in another country. So each embassy website has a scholarship detail actually. So you can go to the embassy website and you can search for the scholarship. So this point I will I will continue in my next slide. So third point is if you're not unsure about anything, you can directly ask to the professor. Of course, you need to search something before asking the professor. You cannot directly go to the professor and say him like, okay, I mean, I want a scholarship. Do you have any suggestions or recommendations? You cannot just ask like that. You need to do some searching. Then you need to say him like, I have done these and these things, but I didn't find anything. Can you suggest me something? Something like that. So when you ask him like that, then he will be able to help you in some way. So this is one example for the scholarship details of embassy. Japanese scholarship detail from Embassy of Japan in India. Actually, the good point is this scholarship is open now. The deadline is 9 July 2020 actually. So if you are interested, you can go to the Embassy of Japan website in India, and you can search the education tab in the Embassy of Japan in India, and you will find the scholarship details actually. Yeah. Okay, maybe yeah, I think I have done with my talk, but before ending the talk, I'll just like do a recap, and I will tell like what kind of things we discussed in today's talk. Like maybe like I have discussed 3 topics, but some people might think like these 3 topics are totally independent or totally irrelevant to each other. But in my opinion, if you just think about these 3 topics, these are the most important things when you approach a lab for research career. And these 3 topics are totally linked to each other. Without doing one, you cannot do the other. So just go from one step at a time. First, identify your research interest. For example, now you are like in a bachelor degree. So before you finish your master's degree, try to identify your research interest, because I feel like in bachelor's and master's, you need to explore all the opportunities actually. I mean, of course, you can be creative, but if you are more exploring and trying to know what you want, then you can start your research career in your PhD. So try to identify your research interest before your master's degree, and then apply approach the professors. Then, like as I said, you can search for the scholarship, and you will get a PhD, and your research career starts actually. So this is the way you need to approach like a PhD, or like the starting point of your research career. So there are some additional tips as well. So a research career is not that easy. Like maybe I explain in an easy way, but it is not like that easy. So always when you are if you are interested in going for a research career, develop a hobby actually, because sometimes you feel like kind of exhausted in a research career. So having a hobby might help actually, really helps. For example, recently I have developed a hobby in photography, and because of that I used to travel a lot. Like whenever I get time, I used to travel a lot, and also I take photos. Yeah. So similar to that, you can have any hobbies yeah. Then the second thing is, wherever whichever country you go or whichever state you go in India, learn the language. That will be more easy. It will make your life more easy actually. And the third point, and the most important point, is keep your motivation high, because in a research career, it is not a cakewalk actually. You will face ups and downs, in terms of your life as well as in terms of your results and the experiments. So always keep your motivation high. Never feel depressed, or because everything won't stay the same every time. It will change. So keep your motivation high. Yeah. So finally, most of you must have been thinking, since I'm in Japan, I haven't spoke any words in Japanese. So I thought I will just say 2 words. Arigato gozaimasu, danbate kudasai, which means thank you very much and best of luck. I mean, arigato gozaimasu means thank you very much, and danbate kudasai means best of luck. Please fight hard. So if you have any questions, you can ask me, or you can also email me to the email ID I have mentioned here. Yeah, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, sir, for an informative presentation, especially with the hints to help us write an SOP. We actually have only one question here, sir. So can you answer it, sir? I'll ask you the question now.
Yeah. Maybe
yes, sir.
just a second. It's in chat,
Yeah.
right?
No, sir. It's actually come from YouTube, I think, sir.
Okay.
So, okay, sir. So the question is, 1 second, sir. How much will we be making if we choose a research field? I think they mean by money, sir. How much will you make if you choose a research
Yeah.
field over an industry field?
Actually, it's not much as industry field, to be frank, but it's all about your passion actually in the end. Actually, if you want to do a job, then yeah, you can earn, of course. But if you're going to do a research, it doesn't mean that you are not going to earn anything. Of course, you're going to earn, but it's not. It's less than industry field. But it's all about passion. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I don't think we
Yeah.
have any other questions here. Oh, no, sir. Actually, we have one more question, sir. It's there in the chat box, sir. Can I read it out to you?
Yeah. I can see that. But when you think about masters, what are the different fields in masters? Of course, like as in like bachelors, there are like different fields in masters as well. But I'm not going to tell like which field is best or which university is best, because in the end, it's up to your interest actually. As I said, if you go with your passion, you will succeed. Like again, it's the same answer, but yeah, try to identify research interest and search for the universities that offers a course for your research interest. And if you find such things, then try to enroll and go for the masters. But of course, like for a masters in India, you can try for GATE scholarship, because when you write GATE scholarship, you can apply for like premier institutions like IITs and NITs, and also yeah, they also have like different courses actually. So you can go for that. Or also there are like some private universities which really offer some good course in the masters. Yeah, but one thing I want to make sure is, uh, yeah, of course, like you are like almost more like dependent on your parents right now. But from your masters and PhD, try to be like more independent. Like it'll make you happy really actually. So try to like go with a scholarship. That one point I would like to um, suggest actually. Yeah. So
Sir,
what are
there's
the
another
options
question.
for what are the options for biotechnologies? Various mainstreams that has openings. What are the options on that? Okay, so ma'am, do you mean like in job sector?
I think so, sir. I think so. That's what she means.
Okay. Um, Actually, I'm not sure about job sector, ma'am. Maybe I think Vamsi, he has something to say in his presentation, I guess. Okay, job research, higher studies. So, just a second. Maybe I need to go to the question again. What are the options for biotechnologies? So, for example, like some people, they do biotech, and after that, they are trying to do MBA actually. So, like they are just going as an auditor or like to a biotech firms. That is one option in job sector. And the second option is they are doing like a masters in biotech, but again they are going to job industries like pharmaceutical industries. But the bitter truth is the pharmaceutical industries mostly prefer like MSc candidates compared to the MTech candidates. That's the bitter truth. But yeah, like maybe Vamsi has much more things to add to this actually. Yeah. Then scope for medical biotechnology for masters in Canada. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure about the masters in Canada. Maybe because I have not done my masters like abroad, so I cannot just give some opinions. So maybe I'll skip this question. I'm a pharmacy student. Can I pursue research in biotechnology sector? So, I mean, in the end, it's like what kind of, I mean, like, of course, you can do a bachelor's because I have seen like many students doing cross science research actually. They do something in bachelor's and they have some other interest. so they perceive like different specialization like in masters. But you should work hard, like something like you need to, if you have a passion on something in biotechnology, you need to work towards that. Then only you can get the like fruit in the end actually. It doesn't mean just like you have interest, and if you just skip, there won't be any scope. That's my point. Then what type of scholarship during the master's degree we can apply? So in Japan, I mean, even this next scholarship is applicable for master's students in Japan as well. If in India, there is a scholarship called GATE scholarship. For that, you need to write the GATE examination. And once, like the GATE examination is held in like in different fields actually. So you can take in biotechnology, and I think they have GATE specific for molecular biology as well, I guess. Yeah, but I'm not sure about this point. But so you can check that, and you can write the GATE exam. But again, if you go to the private institutions, I'm not sure about the scholarships in private institutions. And like if you go to the Western countries, maybe that point Vamsi will discuss, I guess. Masters should be broader or narrow stream. So I mean, if you are so strong about your field, it's better to narrow down your stream as much as possible as you go higher and higher. That will be more effective. But if you are not sure about your field in your masters, it's always like good to take a broader field, and so you can jump anywhere like in your PhD. So it's depend on you actually. What kind of job will we get if you do a major in epidemiology? That's a difficult question. I don't know. Really, I don't know. I don't have experience in epidemiology. How to get scholarship in biotechnology in school to college student? How to get scholarship in biotechnology in school to college student? School to college. I'm not for school to college student. Of course, there are not much scholarship available. But if you are just clearing this IIT, JEE, triple E, yeah, the IIT exams, of course, the fee is not that much compared to the private institutions. So you can save money in that way. But if you are coming to Japan, I think there is some scholarship for bachelor students as well to pursue their studies here. But it's not like same as the master's and PhD level. Of course, the scholarship is like comparatively lesser. Any tips to clear or do well in GATE examination? Just be strong with your basics and focus on mathematics, because like mathematics, you have solid 30 marks in mathematics. So don't lose it actually, because like the MSc candidates, they are not that strong in mathematics. Yeah, but of course, like they are strong in biotechnology compared to us actually. Yeah, but that's a contradictory point. But I agree with the master's MSc biotech actually. I'll go with the MSc biotech. So just try to clear the like be strong with the basics, because if you are strong with the basics, I think you can really score in the biotech, like the GATE examination. For biotechnology in India, in research and job opportunities. Right now, like in India, like most people focus on like more like on food industries and pharmaceuticals. But I think, yeah, of course, I think it's because of the scope right now. But it's us who need to change the scope actually. We need to create something, like you need to study different, because like it's the same actually. Like few years back, everyone thought like engineering is the best, and even in engineering, like everyone like go for mechanical, triple E, and those kind of things. So when everyone goes there, but now there is a like a saturation point. You can realize that. So again, for this kind of things happen. So don't go like that. Try to go with your research interest, and in the end, you will find something if you are really focused and passionate on your field actually. Yeah. books for strengthening basics in biotechnology. I'm not a good, maybe, yeah. Can you suggest some books? I think if, yeah, I don't know about this. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for taking your time to answer some of the participants' questions. I
Yeah.
now call upon Rachin to introduce the second speaker for this event.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elumalai. Now, moving on to our second speaker for the session, I'd like to welcome Dr. Venkatavamsi. Dr. Vamsi is also a proud alumni of St. Joseph's College of Engineering, who has completed his bachelor's in biotechnology and pursued his master's and PhD in the University College of Cork, Ireland. Dr. Vamsi has done many interesting projects in the field of biotechnology, some of which include VR-based gaming for bioedutainment, protein design engineering, investigation of inflammation, colon cancer, etc. He has 4 publications and was also awarded the INA Award in 2015 for the project, along with Mr. Elumalai for the project Diagram. His primary academic interests are in applying mathematical modeling and machine learning into protein design, biomolecular visualization, and biomedical instrumentation. He's also an entrepreneur and has experience and keen interest in the commercial aspects of science. Now, I'd like to welcome Dr. Venkatavamsi. Dr. Vamsi, the stage is yours.
Be informative. Okay, let me just share my presentation there. Second. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about planning your career ahead. Jyoti gave an elaborate introduction about how to step into a research career and how to engage yourself and familiarize yourself with the terminologies such as SOPs and how to approach a professors and how to get in there. But let me talk about career in a broad perspective and talk about what opportunities are there apart from just doing a master's or a PhD. And then I can even answer some questions about what would be the pay be like in industry when compared to academia, and how difficult it is to settle into these different positions, and what would a typical career after 4 years or 5 years or 10 years would look like. Now, so let me start with that. About myself there, I am a biomedical researcher primarily. I finished my PhD early this year, and the topic of my PhD was in protein design and developing therapeutic and imaging proteins for breast cancer. And a part of my PhD also revolved around making mathematical models to predict the functions of the protein. And I was also involved in developing and testing biomedical instrumentations. During my PhD, I also developed a huge interest in how people and public can contribute into science from home. And that's where I got into gaming and bioedutainment as well. So I did my bachelor's in biotechnology in St. Joseph's, Chennai. And when I started my biotechnology, I had a mathematical background and I had no biology. So it was in my second and third year of my undergrad where I picked up basics of cell and molecular biology and genetics. And it was help of my hostel friends and the people who were around me who made a huge effort to educate me and bring me into the context when it came into biology. I was very rockhead to understand the concepts in the beginning. But later I used these interdisciplinary knowledge, which I brought from mathematics and engineering, to apply into biology. And that's where Jyoti and I together were collaborating on projects such as Diagram and other stuff. So as I moved into my fourth year of my bachelor's, we tried to seek for research opportunities outside the college. And as the college finished about 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. in the afternoon, we used to take a bus, get a 2-hour journey back to some of the lab in the city, work there for a couple of hours, and then come back home, say about midnight, and then go to bed and wake up again, 7 a.m., go to the college. It was a hard thing, but it was very interesting, and it kept us going. And these little perks what we got during the research while meeting different people, that all helped and chipped in the career progression. So we got to meet different scientists from other colleges. We got to attend different conferences, and by the support of our HOD and the staff there, we were kept in touch with science wherever we went. So on that, after we finished our bachelor's, in theory, we went on to a small industry to do our final year project. That's where we developed this diagram. And I should say it's so important to stay in touch and have like-minded people around you in order for the progression. If not for Jyoti, I wouldn't have completed the diagram project. It was his efforts during all the work. He used to wake up in the morning and then go and then finish the experiments, whereas I was sitting at home and trying to do some programming and get things working in the back end. So that project was one of the biggest milestones, and that played a crucial role for me in pursuing my higher studies. So I again had taken my GRE and IELTS and tried to apply for various institutions in USA and Ireland. And surprisingly, I got invitations from a few universities in US as well as Ireland as well. But there was a struggle where should I choose a narrow field or should I choose a broad field? And I was still searching inside myself back then to see what I'm really interested into. Because job, passion, career, and academic interest are slightly different. And some topics such as molecular biology to me seemed very interesting. But day to day, going into the lab, I didn't know whether I would be the right person to perform at 365 days in a year. And I love talking about science and involving different aspects of science, but I didn't know whether I could sustain for a long time. So that's why I thought, okay, I'll buy myself another year of time through this master's. And that's why I chose MSc Biotechnology in UCC, because it gave that broad perspective. And during that time is when I developed this keen interest towards clinical sciences. And in my dissertations for my master's, I sought a research laboratory in the hospital here and worked in the pathology department, working on cell signaling in cancer cell lines, particularly into pancreatic cancer. And that led me to connections in and around Ireland of people who are working in cancer research. And I sought for PhD positions, gave about 15 to 20 interviews, got a couple of acceptances, and chose my PhD lab into a cancer and imaging kind of area. So when I entered my PhD, I had only 6 months research background into clinical science, but I didn't have any background into animal modeling or protein design or mathematical modeling. I picked up all this during my first and second years of PhD. I was attending different courses online, meeting people in computer science department and mathematics department in the universities and asking them for a coffee or asking them for a chat. And people are good enough. If you have good ideas and good intentions, they are willing to collaborate with you. And this brought me into this weird but yet very interesting kind of mold when it comes to my academic interests. So if one thing my career here could teach you is saying that you can change disciplines and it is not at all difficult. I changed from mathematics into biology and from biotechnology into clinical research and from clinical research now into gaming and bioedutainment and biomedical instrumentations and protein design. So changing is not difficult. You just need to just spend some time and make key connections. And this is where your professional connections become very, very important. So it has been 5 years since we finished our bachelor's, and we've been apart. But still, Jyoti and I are still in touch, talking about science every once in a while. And I've been in touch with many people. Still, Naveen is still is doing his PhD there, and there are other people in the biotech batch we had who are still keen in knowing what's going in biotech and what each other is doing. And these connections are very important. I mean, as you go along, these connections define you, and they are the extra force that you need to advance in your career. So, just a picture of me there 5 years ago, and that was my dear friend Nixon there and me, and enjoying our life. Back then, I had no idea that I would end up into this position here, having finished a PhD. I was just taking things as they come in. So let's talk about 2020 and beyond, and what's next. What a year it has been. The COVID-19 and all the events happening all over the world, it's been pretty rocky. And I understand many of you are feeling a bit nervous about what's next when it comes to your career and jobs. And it is, remember, you're not alone. Everyone who is graduating in this year are with you, and we are all facing similar situation. And even myself, I'm very new to academia. I just entered and started my career into a deep research and an entrepreneur, and I'm going to face the similar situations as well. But one thing is for sure, we will all make it through, and we'll be there to tell a story. So on that regard, so one of my very influential people, Warren Buffett, is the world famous investor. He says, the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. The more you learn, the more you will earn. So, on that regard, what are opportunities that are available to life sciences and in biotechnologies? One thing for sure, opportunities are always more than one. You have next step as your master's, or you can directly do a PhD without a master's, or you can team up with similar minds and start a startup company or seek a job into industry. It's your choice. Excuse me. So here's a chart that I obtained from the paper, which I put there on top left-hand side. It's a figure from a book chapter which explains various opportunities that are available in life science industries. Here you can go into policy making, or you can go into HR, and you can go into law making, you can go into investing, banking, where you can suggest investors which company has a good drug coming in and where to put money because you understand the subjects. And you can go into developing different products or new technology, or you can go into medical affairs, clinical development, discovery research, such as what Jyoti is doing, or bioprocesses. And this chart just tells you that there is not just one option or two options, but there is a plethora of options that are available to you when it comes to career. And that's where the confusion begins as well. What to choose? Okay, let's start with masters. First thing, is it needed? Well, it's not a compulsory. Masters is where you gain a little more expertise on the field. But to me, when I was doing a master's, it was more like buying myself time to see what I want next. So factors to consider when you're choosing your master's on an overall will be the financial undertaking. Master's, when you're doing it abroad, is expensive. And most of the people who are from middle class and higher middle class economic scales, we all thrive and save up for seeking such an opportunity. So it's a big financial undertaking, and it might cost about anywhere between 20 to 30 lakhs of rupees. If you're doing it in the US or Canada, it might cost about 10 to 15 lakhs if you're doing it in Ireland, and UK it would be a bit more. So they are in that double-digit lakh ranges. So it's a big financial undertaking, and you're spending time in it. But you need to understand what you're going to do next. Is it industry you're going to go into, or is it academia that you want to go into, or do you want to just learn something to start up a new company, or you want to explore some field, or you just want to buy time? So that's very, very important when it comes to masters. So I mentioned a link there called findamasters.com. That's very nice website. It'll help you to sort different universities by different countries or different courses, and it'll tell you what's the merits and demerits of doing the masters in that countries and how long the visa duration would be, what could be the short time opportunities immediately of the masters, and that kind of thing. So I'm not going to go into factual information because you can directly find them from the website, which I mentioned down there, and the websites that I'll be mentioning throughout my talk. So, but I want to talk about more on the social aspect of whether it is needed or not. So, as I said, it's a good step, but think about it. Think about these factors before you make the decision. Now, if one gets into industry, they can get directly after an undergrad, and that's called a graduate role, or a lower engineer, or a junior scientist role. Or if you're going after a master's, you'll be offered a senior engineer or a higher position. And in an industry, you'll be looking into roles such as biomedical scientists, biotechnologists, biochemists, computational biologists, microbiologists, research assistants, managemental positions. These are job titles that you will be assigned to as you go into the industry. And again, junior and senior and head, these are the prefixes that you would get to these positions as you move up the ladder. And I heard a question there before, what would be the pay scale when it comes to industry and academia? Industry definitely pays higher than academia, and it is significantly higher. In academia, basic postdoc income might start from, after your PhD I'm talking about, it might start from, let me say this in euros because I'm used to communicating in euros now. It could be anywhere from 35,000 euros to 45,000 euros. And if you go to an industry with a PhD or a master's, you're starting about 50. And that's a significant amount. 50,000 euros is big difference when you compare it to 35,000 euros. So industry jobs definitely pay higher than academia. But academia is a lifestyle choice rather than a pay choice. The little perks of you being independent researcher and you're doing your own research comes with academia, whereas high pay and very good balanced work life comes with industry. So PhD and academia. So we've seen a gist of masters in the industrial positions and PhD in academia. So Jyoti has talked very well about the process of getting into research. But this is not a fairy tale. It's going to be very difficult to sustain in academia. The success rate in going up is very, very low because academia demands publishing and it demands constant grant hunting. So every year you have to write your own grants and fetch your money for the lab in order to sustain. And funding in science is reducing day by day, and competition high up the ladder is very high. For example, the number of professors each university has is very low, and number of PhDs and masters coming out every year is very, very high. So unless and until you evaluate yourself as highly passionate and you want to do this, it's very tricky to be in academia. I'm not demotivating anyone here, but this is the ground reality we should be talking about. And in the lights of COVID-19, we should be more thinking about what we want to do than any other batches who were in this situation before. So when we are seeking for career advice, we usually tend to refer to our alumni or immediate seniors or some colleagues or mentors and websites and blogs and career consultants. But hold the point there and just listen to this quote. No man ever steps in the same river twice, or it's not the same river and he's not the same man. Which means the situations which your colleagues or your seniors were there when they were the situations were totally different, and you were totally different. Economies are changing, climate is changing, and situations are changing. So whatever advice people are going to give you is still an advice, and it's not a mandate, and it's not going to be, this is what you should do. So when you're seeking for career advice, there are some factors that can really influence your decision. The first thing is how old are they? I'm not saying it is in a wrong context. People always give very good advice based on their experience, but we should understand what's the market when they were in the job hunting arena, and what's the job, what situation they are in, what's their financial background, and did they have any chance in their success, or did they have any other kind of support? And when it comes to career consultants, they are trying to push you towards certain universities or certain jobs. So what are their motives behind pushing you towards them? These factors will just help you not to trust anyone blindly, because giving no advice is better than giving wrong advice. And that's what I am afraid of. And somebody asked me, what do you think is the best field that's going to be to take biotechnology? The right answer would be, I am 2 years into the competition before you, so my deal is going to be different. What's best for me is going to be different for you. So looking into that kind of thing, it's very, very important to make choice on the career by yourself rather than brainwashed or taking strong influence from any of the career advisors. Now, recently, I've come across this wonderful book, 21 Lessons from 21st Century, and I put this for a purpose because it talks about points such as what pace the future is shaping and how relevant are our jobs when AI and robotics can come from, and what should we be prepared for. And it does sound a little bit science fiction, but don't get me wrong, it brings a perfect context to what I'm talking in here. For example, Jyoti pressed a point saying that people were very keen on engineering jobs, saying mechanical is evergreen. And if you do a mechanical engineering, you get a job always. And that was 10 years ago. And what about now? And you have Tesla building all their cars, 70% of it fully automated. And you have robots to assemble everything. Amazon, for example, is sorting out their boxes and making stores completely no human intervention there. Everything is robotics. So in such cases, how relevant would a job that you're seeking be in 5 years? And this happened throughout our history. For example, when Industrial Revolution happened, people lost their jobs for machines, and that was a big uproar coming up there. But this is happening at a faster rate now because of our artificial intelligence. So if one is seeking a job in a pharmaceutical industry as a junior engineer or a technical expert, you have to think whether in 5 years, would that job be still relevant? Would you be put out of the job for some reason that the company doesn't require that kind of a job anymore and it is automated? So these are some philosophical questions, but they're good questions to know and prepare yourself about. So in that context, we should always be prepared to learn new things and understand different disciplines and how we could creatively shape our careers rather than just do this because a senior does this. So if a senior comes here and says, oh, I did this food science engineering or environmental science engineering, and I got a job here, that doesn't mean it guarantees a job for you. In his consequences and in his timeline, that worked. You're presented with a completely different timeline. So be prepared for these kind of things. It's not to scare anybody, but again, to bring the ground reality. Only if you know the right reality, you will be rightly prepared for what's next. So in that context, start with making a good CV yourself. And in order to present yourself differently, what makes you distinguishable, and what are your good qualities and why someone should hire you. A CV could be for industry or academia or doing a master's. Good CV is required for everything. I can send you a few samples if you'd like me to advise on how to present your CVs and stuff. And have a good digital footprint. And these days with social media, we are always connected, and everybody knows who you are and what you're doing, and your digital footprints talk more than what it is. So use social networks such as Twitter or LinkedIn to connect with people who are in similar areas and see how they are progressing in their paths. Do not take advice from one person, but see from a collective individuals. LinkedIn is a very good platform because it will tell you where a person started his education and which companies they changed and how they are going. And again, you never know where the opportunities come from, so connect to as many people as you can. So we're all being ever more disconnected in ever more connected kind of world. So it's good to have contacts with your seniors, alumni, friends, even after you leave your college. And it's very important because you are a highly concentrated group of people doing life sciences or biotechnology or any other field, but you all had similar passion. So each one of you, most of them, will be ending up in similar life sciences field. And it's more than likely that you come across each other as a collaborator or someone to hire you, or you can hire your friends or help each other in that kind of a way. So it's very important to have these professional connections there. And lastly, life is not a race. So don't compete yourself with anybody, and success is not the same for everyone. You don't need a master's if you don't want one. You don't need a PhD if you don't want one. So define your success term based on what's good for you. And life is not just about things that define what the society defines. So you can always think for yourself, always think what you want in life, think about your friends and family. And like Jyoti very nicely mentioned about hobbies, developing a hobby and passion apart from your academic or work interest is a very good idea to reconnect with the life as it is. And in the situations and the current happenings, it's the most important thing right now to maintain one's mental health. So keep safe and keep happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your knowledge on the various opportunities available to us after we complete our bachelor's. There are some questions now here, sir. Would you like me to read them out?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay. The first question is, as you're in a different country, how did you cope up with the knowledge gap?
There was very little knowledge gap because the biotechnology course that St. Joseph's had was very broad. So there's nothing you can't pick up from little light reading. So as you go higher and higher in the education, you wouldn't have any textbooks, or you wouldn't have any person that could actually teach you what you want. So all you can do is pick up some academic journals, or, for example, you want to read about stages of cancer. You just type stages of cancer and pick up a review paper from Nature or Science journal. Just try to read upon that. So it is not as difficult as people would think. People would think is people abroad are habituated to different kind of science and we are lagging behind. That's not true. Because I did my bachelor's in St. Joseph's. Yes, some of the topics do not make sense throughout the thing, but that's, again, each person goes in a different career. So, for example, I always thought the heat transfer or mass transfer, thermodynamics kind of topics, or unit operations, for example, was too much for me in that point. I was good at that, but it was too much for me. But trust me, those are the most important subjects when you come into bioengineering kind of things. And instrumental methods of analysis, for example, was the subject I loved and I still love, and that is helping me a lot when I'm trying to do my biomedical instrumentations. So knowledge gap is not as a big deal as mentioned there.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, what should be done by a BTech biotechnology student to get a job in MNCs? And please do tell us about SAS programmer career in India.
So MNCs, again, that's a very generic term. If you meant big pharmaceutical industries after BTech, well, in India, all the pharmaceutical companies that are there are just manufacturing. So raw material comes from China, and then all the tablets or injections are made and manufactured into a proper form. That's Indian pharmaceutical business. The research going in the pharmaceutical industry in India is very, very low when you compare to worldwide. So if you're thinking about a job in a big company like J&J or Pfizer or something in India, all you need to do is just have a master's first and then go for the interview. That's a straight walk ahead. There's nothing to stop in there. I mean, a few of my friends have done that, and yeah.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, considering the current situation, certain universities are offering the online offline curriculum for students who are thinking of studying abroad. What are certain things we should keep in mind?
Okay. The current situation is very tricky. So we don't know what's going to happen until we get the vaccine. But it is improving. UK, Oxford announced that they found a drug, deoxymethasone, I think, drug to treat people in ICUs and who are in critical conditions. So situation is getting better. In that light, considering the part-time online course and part offline course is beneficial, because at the end you're going to get a certificate from a well-reputed institution by the same teachers who would teach you offline. But apart from the technical perspective, there's another perspective. Going into a different location, going away from your comfort zone, away from your home, and it doesn't need to go abroad. Jyoti did his master's in Karnataka, and I was not from Chennai itself, and I did my 4 years of my bachelor's in Chennai, where I had to learn a full new language by myself. So those are tough, but they are very interesting situations. They give you a different perspective, and they give you a sense of community feeling, and you tend to meet different people. So it's not the same. Offline and online is not the same. Going to the college and being present there is a different experience. I'm sure you're going to miss that, but it's not just you. Everybody are in the same boat right now. So if it's a good university and a good course, part offline and part offline shouldn't make a big difference. You're going to get the same certificate from the university anyways.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, what makes a good CV for students looking for masters in abroad?
So masters in abroad, so that's the first step you're going after your bachelor's. Bachelor's is very basic. So what makes a good CV is how you present yourself, right? Some people have extraordinary achievements, but the way you present or write up your CV is a big matter. And some people don't know how to do it, and they undersell yourself. That's the reason why it's important to learn what to highlight in the CV. So there is no point putting your college, school, CGPA, percentages. No one cares about that. They care about you as a person. So marks are just a cutoff for qualification. They don't determine who you are. Who you are is determined by the extra projects you do, your research interest, and how you put forward it. That's the main thing. So I can send some templates, and there's a nice site called, there are a few templates on Harvard and MIT websites for academic CVs. And there's also a nice website called Novo Resume, NOVORESUME. I can actually put that in the chat there. That gives you a nice little modern style resume, and it'll let you highlight what you want in there. So again, that's how I meant put the point there. Learn how to sell yourself in your CV. You should know what is important. And the major mistake what people do is having a traditional template which looks same as the 100 CVs what every professor or every HR receives, and you're not standing out in there. You have to make something different in order to stand out in the rest of the 100 CVs that you receive. So I'm not saying using different colors on the CV. That's totally wrong. But presenting it in a different way, putting your main achievements in the beginning, and talking about yourself and the research and the projects you've done, and throwing down your academic qualifications at the end is the new style that's being observed right now. So I will definitely put the links in here before the whole session is done.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, which is better, continuing masters in a stretch after bachelor's, or gaining industry experience then going for masters?
Both are good, but the getting masters immediately when you're trying to go into a research field is very nice, because you don't have any gaps in there and you're finishing as fast as you can. But when you're going into industry, especially when you're coming abroad to UK or Ireland or anywhere in Europe, when you're seeking the jobs after your master's, the first thing they ask, most of them, is, have you got any experience? And that's a big play. So it's a very good idea to have 1 or 2 years of experience in industry before you do the master's, and then seek another position, because you have that industrial experience ticked off, and that gives you an edge over other students when it comes to the job market.
Thank you, sir. And the last question is, how can I opt for internships online, as in work experience / learning?
Internships online. Well, unfortunately, we are in life sciences, so all we need is a big lab to do anything. So what you could do is you could actually try computational biology, and it's a great field, and it's the field which I'm recommending to many people, because it's probably like it's spring up like a Silicon Valley 5 or 10 years ago. There are loads of startups popping up and people trying to design novel proteins and people trying to find new solutions using artificial intelligence and machine learning. I know this all sounds a lot of technical jargon, but the advantage of that field when it comes to either genome analysis or protein designing or any development, you just need a computer. So if somebody is keen into bioinformatics and computational biology, now is a great time to pursue that as a career. And that internships are things, since they are computer based and you just need to learn some bit of programming and start with the computer right away, it is an easier option in terms of internship. But apart from that, I mean, you need a basic lab to do any kind of project in basic life sciences. So
thank you, sir. We actually have one more question.
Yeah.
For a student currently interested in both science and the scope of content writing, what do you think the scope might be if scientific content writing was pursued?
No problem at all, and that's a great field, and it's happening very, very fast. So I would say for content writing, there is no qualification that you require. You can start it right away, and the more experience you have, the more popular you become in terms of content writing. So it can also be pursued as a hobby, and it is a great hobby. Many scientists, and one of my very close friends who's a very renowned scientist in optics also does that. Whatever he does in his lab, whatever experiments or hobby experiments, what he does, he maintains a wonderful blog and then tries to engage with people. And that is also content writing, but you're not writing for any company or for financial purposes. You're getting paid in a different way, but you're doing it for yourself. So scientific content writing is an essential task as well when you start your research, because writing is the biggest part. If you're not publishing, if you're not writing, you're not going to go ahead in the career in terms of basic academic research. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So once again, thank you very much, sir. Before we move on to the final speaker, I would like to remind the participants that the feedback link will be posted towards the end, and you will have only 30 to 40 minutes to fill it up. It is necessary to fill it up to receive the e-certificate. Now I request Ms. Kalavati ma'am to introduce the third speaker.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Jyotirlal and Dr. Mansi, for your presentation. Now, with immense pleasure, I introduce Mr. Balaji Sagadevan, Principal Engineer at Alnylam Pharmaceuticals, Boston, Massachusetts. Now, to give everyone an insight into Mr. Balaji's background, he graduated from Anna University with a bachelor's degree in industrial biotechnology and pursued his master's in biological engineering at Illinois Institute of Technology. Collectively, he has around 10 years of experience in the pharmaceutical world. He has worked in many reputable companies such as Johnson & Johnson Pharmaceuticals, Gilead Sciences. His expertise includes formulation development, process validation for drug substances, and drug products, and much more. We could not have brought in a better speaker for this event, as his main expertise lies in the advancement of biotechnological services, which bridge the gap between laboratories and manufacturing. I welcome Mr. Balaji Sagadevan. Now I request Mr. Balaji to take over the session.
Okay. Good evening to everyone. Thank you, Kalavati, for the nice introduction and contacting me to give this speech to your students. It's a good opportunity for me to interact with the students in sharing my perspective of biotechnology. Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir. We can see your screen, sir.
Okay. Your voice is a little bit low, so let me check my volume. Okay. Sounds good. And I hope people who are listening on YouTube Live is also getting the stream good. So please consolidate your questions and ask through the mediator. Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. And let's start discussing our knowing more about higher studies in USA for biotechnology. Okay. So I would like to keep this presentation very engaging. So I will be asking some questions in the middle, so to keep people engaging, so that I get the answers through WebEx or the for YouTube Live people. Hope the mediator conveys it to me in a consolidated way. And it'll be great and the best use of time if you can hold your questions to the end, and we can have the questions at the end. Okay. So let's get started with this. So as Kalavati introduced me, these are my bio. So I have a cumulative of 10 years of experience across 4 different companies in doing formulation development, process development, and technology transfer of lab developed drug products, medicines from lab to manufacturing plant. Okay. After completing my master's, I'm doing that for the past 10 years. And I'm a professional member of like chemical engineering societies, pharmaceutical engineering societies, and pharmaceutical scientist societies. So this keeps me in trend with respect to all the updates and things going on within the industry. So I personally, like an engineer from my bachelor's degree onwards. So my motive was not to get into the lab and do the research and to develop a new molecule. My motive was to make sure already the lab developed molecules which are of very nice potential to get it to manufacturing and get it to the people. So that's where my intention was. So that was my motive to go into industry after my master's. And that's one of the reasons why I went for biological engineering. So let's see in deep how things are. What is the benefit of doing a PhD? What is the benefit of doing masters? And what's the opportunities there? What kind of courses that you may need to select in detail? Okay. So this is an introduction about me. So now let me know something about you guys. Just ping me or raise your hands or just type in your chat box for some of the things that I have here. So how many of you are already starting to think of studying abroad? Just starting to think. Just a quick yes or things. Yeah. Okay. Okay. How many of you are, how many people raise their hands in YouTube? Okay. So how many have started working on the process? Like they have that idea, they know what they want to do, and they are already starting to work, or they are already in the process of working, like taking exams or browsing universities. Okay. Okay. And how many of planning to like change your major? Some of you might have biotechnology here or chemical engineering here or biomedical here. Who wants to try a different major? I'm not asking for people going for an MBA from a bachelor's degree, but I'm asking for people who are thinking of like changing their major a little bit. Okay. Okay. That's a good number. That's a good number. Yeah. Okay. Last question. How many of you are having your parents or guardians along with you in this WebEx? Please be very frank. I don't mind your parents or guardians seeing this or listening to me. It's even beneficial, I would say. No hands? No hands. That's good. Okay. Let's dive deep. In this presentation today, I'm just going to put together these topics, okay? Like what to do to go and do your master's or PhD abroad, what you need to do, what kind of due diligence you need to do to select courses or degree, what factors might affect them, and what factors might need to be considered in exploring and selecting a university, and what kind of financial support, scholarship you may get before coming or after coming to the universities here, education standards and the culture, because that is very different here in US and Canada when compared to India. So most of my talk here is specific to US and Canada. So I don't know much about Europe or Japan, as previous speakers would have covered that, but my talk here will be mostly around US and Canada. So I'll show you some difference, or I'll tell you some difference about the education standards here and the culture and the expectations here. And also touch base on job opportunities and the challenges that you may have. And finally, we will conclude it and you may ask me some questions, okay? So anyway, as a part of disclaimer, all the presentation, all the content in this presentation that I'm giving you today is totally on my personal experience and my individual perspective. I'm not representing any company or any specific interest, okay? It's totally from my personal interest that I'm giving you, okay? So let's dive deep. So coming to US or Canada for your higher studies is a very cumulative effect. It's not like one exam or not based on one exam. So the application package has the listed below things like your test scores every semester of your BE BTech scores, your GRE scores, your TOEFL scores, your resume, the letter of references, statement of purpose. I suppose the previous speaker have touched a little bit on that. Your project summary and your financial statements. So these are the things that need to go in. The list may be long, don't panic, but I will go through what are the ideal timings to do each of these things. So it is like a cumulative effort over a period of years. Okay. So let's dive in again, much deeper. Test scores in your BE BTech. So it starts with your consistency. Some universities might ask for your 12th score, 12th standard score, high school final scores, but not every university asks. But every university is in US and Canada, they prefer to have like a semester-wise mark sheet. So it should be sent as a secured copy from university registrar. And what they are looking here is the consistency. From your first semester onwards, they are looking for the consistency. They don't want the graph to go up and down. So if you're at 80%, consistently 80% is good. 90%, much better. Consistently, you need to maintain 90%. Going up and down, people don't prefer it. And no backlogs, I mean no arrears. So that is not going to go in your favor because you are sending your semester mark sheets and that won't look good on your semester mark sheet. So that's your criteria there you need to see. Then comes the GRE exam. Mostly in US universities, they take it. And here they test for English skills, your quants, and your essay writing. And this is a computer adaptive test. So you need to use a software to train on this. So more questions you answer correctly, the toughness or the level of strictness goes up and you get more scores. So one more score means a very good university. So that's how things goes. Next one is the TOEFL exam. And its equivalent is IELTS in Canada. It tests for reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills. And I assume most of you are having English medium background from your high school onwards. So this shouldn't be much challenging when compared to GRE. Okay, but at least practice it or try it out for 1 or 2 weeks before going for the exam. Then comes your resume, which is your identity. Resume is very, very important because that's where you are going to distinguish yourself a little bit from other people. So write it specifically to your skill sets. Do not frame it. Do not use someone else's resume and modify it for you. Start from the scratch and write it. It's tough to write it the first time. You can use help from your career management centers, placement centers in your college. So they will help you out to start with it. Then comes the letter of references. Mostly people prefer 3 to 5 references and it should be very professional. It may be asked as a paper copy, again on a sealed envelope, or electronically it might be asked directly by the universities to your reference people. So please talk to your professors, talk to the people whom you might know professionally, no friends, no relatives. More they know you is better. So I would suggest you to talk to at least 5 people to have you as your reference, and that will be good. Okay. Next is the statement of purpose. So in US, with respect to US, this is one piece of letter or one piece of paper that you need to get into the application form. And this is where you are differentiating yourself from other candidates. See, remember, you're applying with a global pool of audience here. People from every country will apply in here. Because if you take the university ranking out of top 200 universities in the world, 150 of them are in US and Canada. Okay, so the competition level is high. So these are the factors that might slightly differentiate you from others. Like your statement of purpose need to have around 1,000 words, and then your project summary, your paper presentation that you may do. These things are like a cherry on top of the ice cream. Okay, so these are the things that you need to have to differentiate yourself from others. But it doesn't mean only this will help. Okay, if you are not having a good score, if you're not having a good score in GRE, not having a consistent score in your academics, having a lot of projects, writing a nice statement of purpose won't alone help. Because as I said, this is a cumulative one. Everything from scratch makes a difference here. So first, make sure you are having a good scores in your semesters academically, consistently, and having a good GRE score, having a good TOEFL score, and then having all these things help out. Because these things can be written within a span of a month. People can help you in writing this. But the test scores, your academics test scores, your GRE scores, your TOEFL scores are something that is reflective of your performance and you alone. No one can write an exam for you, right? So that's the difference they are seeing here in US and Canada when it is coming to an application. Okay. So again, let me do another question here. Okay. Okay, so let me do a quick survey here to keep people engaged. So how many here are looking to do an MS abroad and to do some work in, say, cloning, animal biotechnology, those kind of things? Okay, can anyone summarize the response you are getting on YouTube Live? Like how many people are raising their hands there?
Yes, sir. Close to 10 people said yes in YouTube.
Okay, okay. How many are looking to do like a PhD and go for high-end research like genetic engineering, gene modification, those kind of high-end things? Okay, on YouTube?
So there's about 2 people.
Okay. Okay, how many are looking for a new opportunity in discovering new medicines? I mean to say discovering, like working in the lab and developing new molecules by your cutting edge research kind of stuff.
There's nothing so far on YouTube, sir.
Okay, okay. And how many want to do a new processing technology for food or pharma or anything like that? I see some people raising hand for everything.
There are 3 people on YouTube, sir.
Are those the same people?
I guess so. I'm not sure.
Okay, okay, okay. So let me see. This is an important slide that your professor has asked me to concentrate on. So I would like to go in detail and explain it to you more. And I would like to manage expectations here. Okay, so I would like everyone to come to a reality of what the scope is, what the market is, what the industry is, what the academic is, kind of thing, because you need to merge into that to be successful. Okay. After merging into it, after you raise your name there, after you become very famous in your field, you can change the field, you can create a scope. But until then, you need to merge into the field, manage the expectations, set into the reality, and then come up. So that's the important thing that I'm going to tell you right now. So take it with a grain of salt. And these are about my personal experience with respect to USA and Canada. Okay. So let me go to the next slide. Okay. Selecting the courses and those things. Okay. If right away after your bachelor's, you are trying to go for your PhD directly, okay, I will say there is no limit in selecting courses or types of courses. You can go and select courses in genetic engineering, animal biotechnology, molecular biology, cloning, cancer biology, whatever you want, whatever is your interest, and pursue that at your own interested phase in those things. Okay. There is no limit and restrictions or with respect to job opportunities and those things, because you are going to do your PhD. It's going to take more time commitment in lab. At least I have seen people working 70 to 90 hours in lab per week for a PhD students. Okay, so that's the level of commitment expected in US and Canada in any university. Usually a PhD will take 4 to 6 years to complete on an average in US. Okay, and that is on top of your like academics with respect to your courseworks and those things. So most of the universities, they would prefer you to take courses for the first 2 years to see how you are performing there, and they will either keep an interview with you to make sure you are qualified for PhD, so that you can be admitted into PhD and get stipend there, or they will have a separate exam, qualifying exam within their department, so that you are eligible enough to go and do your PhD. So that's how the universities works here in US. So most of the students who are directly admitted into PhD into US also need to go through this exam to determine their capability, so that if you clear those exams or clear those interview, you will be admitted into a PhD. If not, the professors might ask you to stop with masters or like go ahead with the other stream of things. Okay, so that's the thing I'm giving you. And after PhD, you can get into industries with some limited opportunities, which I will explain you. And or you can go into higher level of educations, into universities, like doing your postdocs, those kind of things. And with respect to postdocs and PhDs, I think my previous two speakers have explained it to you well there. So I don't want to go much deep into that. I'll tell you something on that. Okay. And if you desire to pursue your masters, okay, stop or coming to US or Canada with just masters, for masters as of now. In future, you may change. Okay, you can come here and you can upgrade to PhD. Okay, so that's all there. But if you're coming here and if you are planning to stop with masters, then you need to plan very carefully in selecting your courses semester wise to get a good job opportunity. There are many practical courses in every university's programs that you may need to select to see, depending on the job orientation that you have, depending on what kind of opportunities you may have, depending on limitations that you may face. Okay. And with respect to masters, after your masters, you will have access to a little bit more job opportunities. I'll explain you why. So if you're completing your masters in US, okay, and you want to come into a pharmaceutical industry, that's how I came in. Okay. You will be coming in as like an assistant scientist or like an engineer too, like an engineer 2 level kind of things. And there might be like hundreds of such position in a company. Okay. But if you're completing your PhD, your level of entry will be a scientist or like a senior engineer. Okay. And there might be only 20 to 30 different positions of that within a company. So that's the limitations that you have. The number of opportunities with respect to getting in with masters and number of opportunities with getting in with PhDs. Of course, with your PhD, you're going to come at a higher level, but the number of opportunities are less. Okay. And since you're coming to a foreign country and working here, okay. And since you're coming and to a foreign country and working here, it might be a little bit a challenge that you need to face with respect to work authorization. So I will explain about that in the last slide. So just want you to keep an idea on this, the difference between your aspirations to the courses or the level of educations that you're selecting. Okay. Let me give you some insights on the courses that are available, which might be of more helpful to you. Okay. Okay. So with respect to selecting courses, I would divide it into two big opportunities or two big streams. One is your engineering courses, engineering major. The other is the science courses or the science major. Okay. both of them has their pros and cons. If it is a chemical engineering or biochemical engineering, biomedical engineering, or biomechanical engineering, there are many interdisciplinary courses here. Okay, so both has pros and cons. And here, with respect to engineering courses, you need to be very strong in your math, because with respect to engineering courses, the derivations or the problems you need to solve is something at a little bit a higher magnitude when compared to how we do in India. Okay, so here I will tell this more in the culture and those things of universities here. The professors whom you are studying under or whom you are taking your class under will be the one who have written the book. Okay, so they know the level of the book. Okay, so they might give you their own problems to solve, not the book back questions to solve. Okay, so that is the level here. With respect to science courses, there are many other courses like pharmaceutics, pharmaceutical technology, pharmacology, bioinformatics, bio-nanotechnology. There are many, many, many more courses. Okay, so in either case, either you are going for an engineering stream or a science-based stream, university is important. You need to at least study in a top 100 universities in US, again in Canada, so that your brand name looks good. And when you go for an interview or when you go for your higher PhDs or whatever, that takes into account. People in USA, especially in industry, they like to see or hire candidates from good universities, because good universities means the student have gone through all those challenges and they have proved that they are capable enough. So university brand does matter here. Okay, so that's something that I would like you to keep in mind. And with respect to courses, some professional courses, engineering courses, as I mentioned, chemical, biological, biomedical, those have more job opportunities for you right after your master's when compared to the science-based courses. Okay, I do know many friends who are working in industry with pharmacy, pharmaceutical science background. After master's, they are in industry, but engineering has a little bit more wider scope, you know. So that's where I'm getting at. Say, I have biological engineering background. My first job was in a company making transdermal ointment and creams and cosmetics. Okay, I was able to get in there with my biochemical engineering background. And then I moved into pharmaceutical, core biopharmaceutical company, Johnson & Johnson and Gilead. And now I'm working in a company called Alnylam Pharmaceuticals, which is like a small molecule or the synthetic molecule manufacturing, drug product manufacturing company. So that wider scope is there. But if you go for, say, masters in pharmaceutics, you are narrowing it down to only pharmaceutical line, only pharmaceutics. The other, like, wide scope is coming down. So that is something I would like you to keep in mind while selecting courses. Don't go by the fancy name. Okay, this is something that I am telling many other people who are asking me for advices. As a rule of thumb, okay, whichever course or whichever program is well advertised, okay, won't have much job opportunity in the future. Okay, so that's like a rule of thumb. I would like to have that in mind with a grain of salt. Okay, exploring universities. Exploring universities is very, very, very subjective thing. Each of you might have a different opinion in doing that. So this is one important stuff. I'm talking here with respect to US and Canada. If you are having other countries, please do good due diligence there. I chose it on the basis of job opportunity and market size. So right from my undergrad, I was adamant to go into pharmaceutical field, and I want to be there in a way where I'm delivering lab developed molecule to a manufacturing site. So I chose USA as US pharma market is the biggest one in the world. And even in USA, I chose a hub. I did my master's in Chicago. So that is one of the hub for pharmaceutical companies. And now I am in Boston, which is the biggest hub in US for pharma. So those kind of due diligence you need to do. It'll be good if you're going there for any universities nearby to get good internship in local companies. That might boost your experience before you graduate. Okay. Academic major, I have mentioned in the previous slide. The next one is the university ranking. I have also told you about a little bit about this. You can go look into websites and like Princeton Review, Udemy.com, and those things. But there is no single rating agencies. First, go the list or go on the factors on which they are classifying the university, and then go and believe in their ranking. So there's no like a single authorized university list here, like ranking list here. Okay. And there are many other factors like location, city, or small town, cost of living, and type of organizations is also there. Government aided, private university, government universities, these are all there. And you need to look into that. The only difference I would say between a government and a private university is the fee structure. So government university, the fees might be a little bit low for the in-residents, like local people. It'll be a little bit higher for like foreign students, but private universities don't have that disparities. Same way in scholarships. Government universities, since they're getting funding from government, they need to give scholarship to the local people first before coming to the foreign students. Private universities doesn't have such kind of implications. Okay, but with respect to quality, it's all same. Remember, Harvard and Stanford are private universities. Okay, so just to give you an idea. And the last thing I want to touch base in this slide is beware of fake universities. There are many fake universities springing up in US with like a good looking logo, like a big university kind of thing. But check on ground, ask your seniors, ask your relatives or friends on ground to make sure that is there a university like that really, how reputable it is in that area kind of stuff. Because everyone will have good website, everyone will have nice looking marketing shows in wherever countries you are, but that doesn't make it a good university. There are many fake universities like that who are putting booths and stalls in various countries abroad, but after ending up here, students realize that that's a fake university, which is really not good for you because you have done all your effort for the past like 2-3 years to come here. I don't want that effort to go or to be wasted with this fake university. Okay. So just be aware of that. Okay. How to clear this one? Can you tell me how to clear this annotate one?
Sir, there will be an option, sir, to clear all annotations. So, like the eraser button kind of thing from where you took the marker.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay. So next comes the financial support. I know coming to US or Canada will be a little bit financial thing that you need to plan because the fees, tuition fees here are a little bit higher when compared to India. So discuss with your parents. Sooner you discuss is better because you're putting your effort here, and right before you come or after you getting your admit, if your parents are saying they can't manage it financially, that'll be a waste of your time. Okay, and there'll be hard feelings. So talk to your parents sooner what they are thinking so that they can arrange it or they can manage it kind of thing. So funding may be of very different types. Like you can take an education loan back in India. You can have your family funding if your parents are preparing for it. And there are scholarships. Okay, there are scholarships. And irrespective of you get your scholarship or not, in the application package itself, you need to make sure that you are capable financially to complete the degree and take care of living expense during your course of study. Okay, that is there, irrespective of you get your scholarship or not. So the financial statement need to be covering that. Okay, that goes with every application package. Most scholarships are given during the admission process. So I got my fellowship where the tuition fees were waived around the time when I get my admission letter. But in most cases, you need to come here, you need to talk to the professors, and then they may arrange for some or other helping hand in managing your fee structure. And with respect to stipend, it's available for PhD students, and getting stipend for master's students is a little bit challenging, but definitely not impossible. I got one while working for a professor. So mostly they expect you to come here, complete a couple of semesters. They will see your test scores, how you're performing here, and then they will give you that kind of stipends or scholarships. Okay, so that's how it goes. And there are part-time jobs available to support your living expenses. within your campus, you can do kind of things that's legal. Don't work off campus, that's illegal. There are many jobs like library attendant, your video editing jobs, those kind of things within a university itself. It will pay up for your living expense. It won't pay up for your tuition fees. It'll at least manage your living expense. And there is a strict regulation that you cannot work more than 20 hours a week as an international student. So those things are there. So you need to keep that in mind. And the next slide. So these are all the big part of how things goes. And in the next slide, I am just summarizing the timeline around it. This is just a guideline. Some of you might have already done this. Some of you might be a little bit lacking behind this timeline. I'm just giving this as a guideline. Okay. So if you want to catch up, you can catch up on this. Okay. First thing is, again, as I mentioned, consistent marks and grades without any backlogs. And from third semester, start doing some paper presentations, small projects here and there so you can get things. Third semester, fourth semester, know about the process of how to apply for foreign universities, which countries you are going, what is the process there, know that. Fourth semester onwards, start studying for GRE TOEFL, then take your GRE TOEFL in fifth or sixth semesters, build your resume in sixth semester, then go for your financial statement and get your application package ready by your 7 semesters. By the end of your 7 semesters, you need to start sending your application. Okay. If you're planning to, say, start your master's in, like, say, August 2020, you should have sent your application in November to December or November to January kind of time the previous year. Okay. So that's the time they need to take, or they need to give it for the committee here and the universities to assess through it and make a decision. Okay, so that's the thing. So let me dive a little bit into the education standards and the culture here, because people are coming all the way from there. There will be cultural shocks. There will be some differences. So let's go over it little by little here. With respect to international students, you must register at... Excuse me? Can people mute their phone? Yeah. So with respect to international students, you are expected to at least register for in-class courses per semester. That is by rule. That is not the university rule. That is a country's immigration rule. Okay. If your university is not encouraging that, or if they are flexible on that, then that is the first sign of it being a fake university. Okay. That's the immigration rule, not the university rule. I'm again stressing it. You need to at least register for 3 courses in campus, not online, not remote, in campus. So that's the first thing that you need to see if that university is stressing on. If it stresses, then it's real. If they are not stressing on that, if they are saying you are flexible on that, then that's not a real university. So here again, it's not like 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. as in India, where you need to go to a college and sit there in a same class for 9 to 4 p.m. Here, the lecture hours varies like 3 hours per week. One course might have only 3 hours per week, either as 3 full hours or 2 1.5 hour session. So put together, the actual lecture hours per week per international student will be like only 9 hours. But it doesn't mean you can enjoy the remaining time. Per coursework, okay, per week, for the assignments they give, for the material work that you need to prepare, you are expected to spend at least 20 hours when you are starting. When you get familiar, 15 hours should be fine, but at least 20 hours per week per course. So that is different here. The grading system here is totally a prerogative of a professor. A professor can say, I'm going to grade this course this semester on the assignments alone. Some professor may come and say, I'm going to have 2 midterms and 1 final exam. Each will be having a different score, different weightage. So those kind of things, like it may be on your even projects. So it's totally on the professor. Okay. So here the wide knowledge is there. They prefer for conceptual learning. Okay. And so that's there. And with your student visa, you can do some, again, as I said, part-time jobs on campus, or you can do any internship in your field of study outside. So that requires some paperwork and those things. So, And you can see a lot of diversity here. People from different countries will be here. You can see how they do it, how they read in their country. For example, I have a couple of good friends from China, and the way in which they read chemical engineering was way different from what we do here. So that's a very different experience. Okay. Then let's get to the job opportunities after our graduation. So as an international student, you need to compete with the local talent to get a job. So to compete it, you need to excel in your marks or GPA. You need to score above them. Okay. You need to have better skill set above a local talent. Having a multiple skill set will be of advantage. Say, for example, if you are doing any statistical course, knowing JUMP, knowing Design Expert, knowing 2-3 software in that might be helpful. Okay, if you're that's what I'm getting at, like multiple skill set. Okay, and most country will have 1 to 3 years of student work permit along with your student visa. It just needs some paperwork, and after that, your employer need to sponsor for your work permit if he or she, that employer company, wants to keep you for a long term. Okay, so that is there, and to be very frank, that is one of the rate limiting factor. And if you go to one of our previous slide, you can see that I discussed about the job opportunities with respect to PhD and masters. So that is there. With respect to PhD, your industry jobs, number of jobs in industry are a little bit limited. With respect to masters, the number of jobs in industries are much wider or much more. On top of that, you need to get this visa. Okay, so that is there. So figure out the employers who are sponsoring visa and then apply so that you can be with that employer for long term and get the visa with them, kind of stuff. So there are many companies who will outright say, we don't sponsor visa. Okay, but there are companies who do sponsor visa. So you need to ensure that that is there. And the rules are changing day by day with respect to visa. So you need to be aware of that too. So these all factors makes you like an international graduate student. It's not like going to the college and studying your academics, writing your test, and then doing projects and graduating it out. Okay. Here you need to see the rules of visa, how it is changing. You need to do your part-time jobs to manage your living expense, and you need to do your academic. You need to perform well in academic to score good marks. You need to make sure how the pool of talent is, how I can excel among them. So these are all the factors that are making you a real international graduate or a real international student. Okay, so that's the thing that you need to focus on. Okay, so you have a couple of more things to handle, and you are way away from your family. That's one more thing to add upon. So you need to manage all these 4 or 5 challenges and then complete your degree and get a job. Back home in India, you are taking care of the other factors. All you need to do is study well, get good marks, kind of stuff, right? So those are the challenges, added challenges you need to see. So finally, in conclusion, I would like to say this is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. Okay? It's a long-term thing. Okay, you need to have a good support from your family on a long-term basis. So you may have your confidence go up and down. So there should be people who are motivating you. My parents did it for me, and without them, I'm nowhere. And that's needed. Okay. So it's good to start working on this by end of second year onwards on this. Okay. And it's a whole new experience. It's a real whole new experience. You can get a global perspective. The way, say, for example, the way I see India now is different from what people in India see India on. Okay, so that's a very different perspective. You will get a holistic picture, and no professor can teach you that. No books can teach you that. No seminar can teach you that. I will tell you that. Okay, I can give that for you now. It's something that you learn on your own, and it makes you feel more independent. Okay, so there are something in life that cannot be taught by books or professors or by any courseworks. You need to learn by your experience, and that you will get here, and that's a very, very valuable study. So that's what I have a quote here from Chantal, that study abroad is one of the most beautiful and effective way in changing your view of the world. Okay. In fact, I need to thank my wife for that. She is the one who Googled it and gave me that image. Okay. So that's one thing. And if you want to go through it again, I have made a couple of YouTube videos on doing MS and PhD in USA, and also pharma job opportunities in India and also in USA. Okay, so I have put the link here, and I think your professor will have the slide already. So you can go through this link and you can look for that if you want to rewind anything and those things and ask. Okay. And with this, I conclude my presentation, and I'm here to clear any of your doubts.
Thank you very much, sir, for an informative session on how to apply to colleges in US as well as in Canada. Sir, there's actually one question here. Can I ask you?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, one participant wants to know how to make a college list.
How to make a college list. Okay, I think I had a slide for that. So first and foremost thing that comes is, by the end of your sixth semester, after you have your GRE score, TOEFL score, and you might have a good idea about your academic score till sixth semester. With that, you need to go into the university site and ask or look for their expectations. What is the minimum GRE score they are looking for? What is the TOEFL score they are looking for? What is the academic background they are looking for? So that your test scores will figure you out. That will narrow down your choice. Okay, that will narrow down your choice for your universities. I'll start with that. So your test scores along with your field of interest will narrow down the universities for you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. The next question is, you previously mentioned about directly entering into PhD in USA. What do you mean by that? Completing masters in India, then doing PhD in USA? Or is there any program that has masters plus PhD package over there?
So here, mostly it comes as PhD. If you want to go for a PhD, there's nothing like a package one. So people come from India directly here and do PhD. So after your bachelor's, you can get directly admitted to PhD in US, but the timing will take long because here the PhD is not like directly entering into the lab and doing the research. Even for PhD, you need to attend the coursework classes as like master students. You need to finish certain number of credit hours with your coursework, and then you need to do your research and do your research in the lab and do it. So for example, I'll tell you this. So for masters, a student is expected to complete 32 credit hours. Okay. For a PhD, the student is expected to complete 70 credit hours. So for that first 32 credit hours, may it be a master student or a PhD students, they need to go into the classroom, take courseworks and complete it and get a good grade. And then only they can go and do that exam, qualifying exams, and go for their PhD. So that coursework is there. So if you're directly coming for your PhD, doesn't mean you're going to get your PhD in 3 years or 2 years in US. So you need to go through that coursework again and then do it. Master students just go through the coursework and they just graduate out of it. So that's the difference.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, apart from TOEFL and GRE, what other exams are there to do MS abroad in USA?
In US, they strictly go with GRE and TOEFL. If you are doing MS, if you are coming for MS in US, you need GRE and TOEFL. It's not only for people who are coming from abroad. Even if the people who are born and brought up here, even if you're a local US people, if you want to go for your master's or PhD, they need to write GRE exam, graduate record exam. And since we are coming from a foreign country where English is not our mother tongue or mother language, we are expected to write TOEFL. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, sir.
There are universities which can admit based on your bachelor's degree, but those universities are not well ranked. US has like 3,000 plus universities. Every university has a different expectations, different levels. If everyone is same, they can't exist. Everyone has different level of competencies, different level of ranking. There are universities for namesake here which can admit you with your bachelor's degree educations, but there is no value in doing that. Okay, a standard university, top 100 universities, at least you need to do in top 100 universities for it to have a value. Okay, and if you're going for top 100 universities, they are going to expect GRE, TOEFL, and those things. And one more thing, if you are going for university ranking, go and see specifically on your field of study. Okay, say for example, Harvard is ranked number 1 in law. Okay, Harvard is ranked number 1 in economics, but they are not number 1 in science and engineering. Okay, MIT is. MIT's management or MIT's law is not that famous like Harvard. So go and select your field of study and then see which universities are ranked top 10, top 20, top 30 in that. Okay, that's why I said there's no one single ranking system here. Okay, yeah.
Okay, sir. The next question is, could you suggest pharma-based jobs in Toronto in Canada?
I don't have much insights into Canadian pharmaceutical sector, but there are some companies in Toronto. I have seen a couple of them when I drive past Toronto, like a couple of years ago. But I don't have any specific numbers or knowledge about that in Canada, like job per se. See, Canada is, even though the country is big, the population is less than Tamil Nadu. Okay, the Canadian population is less, like 4 crores. And all of the cities are located close to the US borders. Like 10 of the big cities are located to the close borders. And the number or the number of industries there is also limited. And the same way, the number of universities are also limited. So the competition is also less, I would say that. Yeah. But with respect to immigration perspective, I think Canada is a little bit more liberal than US.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, what are double majors for master students in biotechnology related lines?
Double major in the sense doing like say chemical engineering and biotechnology together, something like that. I do see in some universities like that, but those courses are like, it may take you longer time for you to do. I have seen like Rutgers University offering an MBA and MBA dual course, but that is like a 54 credit hour course. Okay, so that may take longer time for you to do, but I have never come across a double engineering major course. You might take some classes. See, my biological engineering is an interdisciplinary course between biology department and chemical engineering department. Okay, so out of my 32 credits, 7 credits or 9 credits were from biology department, and my remaining 23 credits are from chemical engineering department. So those kind of things are there. Interdisciplinary courses are there. As I mentioned, biomechanical engineering, that's one of the course coming up here, which is an interdisciplinary between mechanical and biology department. So those things are there, but I have not seen like a dual degree course where you graduate with a master's in 2 engineering fractions.
Thank you, sir. And the last question is, what do you think about studying abroad with the current situation with the pandemic?
Okay, that's a very good question, and things are evolving. Many universities, so again, this is like a 1 year situation. Okay, no one expect this to last long, and no one have forecasted this too. And if you are really passionate in pursuing studies abroad, this thing shouldn't stop you. Okay, this pandemic shouldn't stop you. Okay, so this should not be a rate limiting factor for anyone who's trying to study abroad. Of course, there is a limitations of travel. Of course, there is a limitation for mobility, but universities are also getting creative. I have seen many universities asking their international students to take online courses for the first semesters. Okay, so then come here after all these COVID situation eases up, and then do it, and then continue a real education after being in class here. So those kind of flexibilities can be considered. Okay, so this is like a minute adjustments. See how we are having things now. If this was in a normal situation, I would have been there in your college and I have given this speech in real. Okay, because of this COVID situations and those things, we are doing this in WebEx. Just like that, just like a minor adjustments here and there. But that shouldn't be a factor in stopping you in pursuing education abroad.
Thank you, sir. We actually have one more last question. How effective is online classes for studying abroad?
That's your perspective question, I would say. That is a philosophical question, perspective question, depending on how strict you are, how regimented you are in taking the classes. Okay. The time difference is there. If the class is at, say, 10 a.m. here, it might be late night there in India. So you need to adjust to that. And that will be the only challenge. But effectiveness wise, it's totally up to you. It's totally up to you to figure it out how effective you are. Yeah. See, there are many of these platforms like Udemy, Coursera, and those things. Their professors teach from different corner of the world. But if you are dedicated there, you are going to complete that online course and complete it out and get a certificate. If not, you are not going to. So that's totally your perspective question.
Okay, sir. With that, we wind up the questions. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I request our convener, Dr. Renuka Vishwanathan, to deliver the vote of thanks.
A very good day to all attending this webinar. I deem it an honor to propose a vote of thanks. First and foremost, I wish to extend my gratitude to the management, St. Joseph College of Engineering, St. Joseph Group of Institutions, Chairman Dr. B. Babu Manoharan, Managing Director Ms. Jessie Priya, Director Mr. Sachi Shekhar for their support and encouragement in conducting this webinar. I would also like to thank our Principal, Dr. B. Rao and Dean, Dr. M. Sarvatavardhan for their motivation. I wish to thank our HOD, Dr. D. Srikumar for his moral support and guidance. I wish to express my thanks to the organizer, Ms. D. Kalavati, for her tedious preparations in conducting this session. I would also like to thank the team of students who have worked hard in bringing out this event successfully. From third year, we have Niveda, Kumaran, Veera Raghavan, Swatika and Satvika. And from the final year of the course, we have Rachin, who have extended their support. Finally, I wish to thank all the participants for their enthusiastic participation and perseverance. And last but not the least, I express my sincere thanks to the speakers of today's event, Mr. Jyotivanan for his informative speech, Dr. Vamsi for his inspiring presentation in planning the career ahead, and Mr. Balaji sir for his systematic presentation in showing the pathway for higher studies in USA and Canada. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a great pleasure for me to say a few words at the end of this webinar. I believe that today's session remained true to its name by serving as a gateway for your step towards higher education. And here I would like to thank our alumni, Mr. Jyotivanan and Dr. Vamsi, for their acceptance to share their experience. I'm also thankful to Mr. Balaji for accepting my request and his thoughtful presentation to the students. And at the end, I also thank participants for your cooperation throughout the session to make this event successful. Hoping to see you all in the future events organized by our department. Happy learning and thank you at the end. Dear participants, I've posted the feedback link in the chat box. You can just have a look at it and fill it within 30 to 40 minutes so that your certificate will be generated.